Like that, so I was trying to use code. We all set? Excellent, thank you. Welcome, everybody. It's April 25th, 2022. It's Monday. This is the City of Providence City Council Charter Review Commission. We're going to call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, a roll call.
Chairman Igliosi.
Present.
Vice Chairman Vargas.
Present.
Councilwoman Castillo, absent. Commissioner Principe is absent. Commissioner Pandy is absent. Commissioner McCleary is absent. Commissioner Ochoa. Present. Commissioner Ritchie.
Here.
Commissioner Montague.
Present.
You have 5 present, 4 absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam. First item on the docket is, I believe, Article 7. Am I right?
Yes.
School Department. Great. Who do we have as our guest stars this evening?
We have Dr. Javier Montanez, the Superintendent of Schools, and Mr. Kinzel Thomas, School Board President.
Excellent. Are they here?
Yes, they are.
That's fantastic. Why don't they come on down and state their name and their position for the record, and we can start the festivities. Right there, we have what they call an owl, and it does a 360 recording of everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank
You're welcome. You can start off, I guess, the superintendent, just state your name for the record, your position, of course.
Dr. Javier Montañez, Superintendent of Providence.
Kinzel Thomas, Providence School Board President.
Thank you, and thank you both for coming, and also congratulations, Superintendent.
Thank you.
All right, that's fantastic. A lot of people are happy to hear that they're giving you the opportunity to help make this school system a better place. And of course, who's as chair, as the president, I don't know if it's the right term. The president, I know you've been trying to do yeoman's work over there and start, moving it forward. So thank you also for the work you're doing.
Thank you.
This is the section, right? So do you folks have any kinds of ideas? I know there are some ideas scrolling around, and I guess we'll talk about it, but so do you have any suggestion, anything to that you'd like to see amendments to the charter per the school department issue this time?
So I took a look at the charter, President Uzzoli, and we don't have any suggestions at this time.
And, Commissioners, do you have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a statement. I just want to
Commissioner Montague.
congratulations. You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job, and I'm proud of both of you. I just need you to keep doing the work that you're doing, because education is the key to success, as you know. And our children, parents, residents, they deserve the best. And I think it's a lot of work. You're putting the work in, you're putting the time in. Just continue to do what you're doing, and I appreciate you. You're like family to me.
Yes, we are.
Anything else, comments, questions?
I would like to thank them for their public service, though.
Commissioner
A lot of
Mitchell?
work, especially on that school board. I'm not, that the superintendent doesn't have a lot of work.
Thank you.
So, does any other commissioner, because I also have a
Go ahead.
point of question. Oh,
I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Councilman Commissioner Vargas.
Congrats. Thank you. Dr. Montañez, you think that would be good to have some appointees from the city council personnel into the board, school board?
As we stated before, feel that it's important to keep consistency. This is one of the ways that we're going to make sure that we turn Providence around. It's the consistency of what we have, and as we work and as we move forward. This is a team effort. This is not a one-person show. And as we continue to work, I'm going to continue to work with President Kinzel Thomas and the school board to make sure that we give the students the best opportunity. So I believe the way we are, as we are right now, we should continue making sure that we support.
Thank you. Thank you for your president job. I graduated from Central High School, it's a great school.
Okay.
And congrats, you speak the second language most popular in the city of Providence, so this is Spanish.
Yeah.
Gracias, muchas gracias.
I graduated from Hope High School, and there's a gentleman at this table who served as a assistant principal at the time, kept me in line.
We won't say who, right?
We won't say who, yeah. We won't get into that, but reasons we're on, you don't want that on the record, but. Appreciate Dr. Montanez. Dr. Montanez, that's for sure. Yeah.
Won't name his name, but it's. Whew.
Good man.
Okay. Any other kind of questions? I have something.
I think maybe for context, I don't know if you know, Councilman Vargas was getting at that there is a sort of a thought going around that there'd be city council appointments besides the regular appointments, not only the school board, but all the boards and commissions. I think that was probably the context of the council.
Thank you.
Question, however, we're not sure that, first of all, that would receive the support of the commission and the council. We're also not sure that it's constitutional on the separation of powers, but it's concept that's being tossed around.
Oh, I also have another concept that people have approached me about, and which I figured, so over the years, one of course the conversations been about the school board members, how you go through the process. And I know that, you know, back in, I guess it was 2006, when they created that, the mayor shall empower appoint a school board nominating committee to narrow the first school board appointees and stuff. And of course, that was in reaction, you know, not having enough representation throughout the city. And there's always been that kind of conversation, like, you know, where's the balance? How do you strike it for the school board? So people have approached me from different levels of government and also constituents, the idea of whether or not should we consider elected school board members. And on one end, I say, well, there's something to be said about that. And I'm going to tell you what my thinking is. One concern I have is that if it's just 9 members elected out of the general population of Providence, it can be very cost prohibitive. The reality is that it costs about $1 million to run for mayor. And have 9 folks willing to run for school board, have to spend and raise hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to get their name across the city and try to move that dial is a big effort. And the reality, of course, is if you just did it that way, unfortunately, where the numbers are, and most likely those school board members would probably come from a particular area in the city, and which I'm sure that particular area would be really happy about, but the rest of us, which is the other 2/3, would be going, well, what about us? You know, we'd be the ones go, hey, talk about mine. So this is what the idea is. What if we did do school board elected members, but we did 15, and they all came from each ward? So therefore, you have an elected school board member. Every ward has a representative on the school board. You make the board number from 9 to 15, and every neighborhood, every area has an equal voice in the school department. And not wanting to have to fight where, do I get the ear of a mayor, of the next mayor, of a council person, somebody else, or have to go through this, you know, school board nominating committee. We would end up creating a system where you'd have people who are willing to join in the scrum and have an opportunity to run. And I'm doing it as 15 members, represent from one each ward. And this way, it's not cost prohibitive. It costs just as much as if you're running for council or representative. And you could also open up for greater, I view, representation and voices in the school board system. And this way, it's not based on appointment, it's based on the actual people in the neighborhood. So they have a voice. They have someone to call and say, so-and-so's my school board member. By the way, I'm having a problem with my school. We talk to that person versus as 9, they kind of spread out to the whole city. So that's one of the things that has been bandied about. So I think what it does, it addresses a couple of things over the years I've seen. One, we avoid any type of favoritism, because if you look at that, the whole section B was about favoritism, creating a committee and right. So you kind of avoid the whole favoritism. Second, you give every neighborhood, every ward a voice and a standing in the school board and the school department. And you have greater representation and more inclusiveness. So what do you guys, I don't know if you, I know this is what's being approached as a conversation, and I think it addresses all those kind of elements. And it also creates I think a greater balance throughout the whole city. So what do you think?
Yeah, if I could just jump in, Council President, I think when you look at the makeup of the board now, particularly the last 3 appointees are all young adults, right? Which I think is really impactful to have that youth voice on the board. We're talking about young adults ages 20, 21 years old. And so when you start talking about the possibility of having elections and even in the separate wards, one of the things that jumps out at me is these young adults who are interested in education having the opportunity to serve, and whether or not these young adults actually have the funds needed to run a campaign to be on the school board versus not the structure we have in place now, where there's an opportunity for youth to be involved in education. So that's one of the first things that jumps out at my mind when we talk about representation. That we make sure we include the youth in it as well and give them an opportunity for public service. And I'm not sure if this structure for an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old gives them the financial means that they need in some areas of the city to run for a school board. I think the other thing that jumps out at me when we start talking about an elected school board is, to your point, it does cost money. And I wonder if, sometimes the decisions that are made are more based on political favors versus in the best interest of students, right? And so, I think when you have an appointed school board, there's one focus, and that is in the best interest of students. I'm concerned if we, bring in an elected element, if it changes how folks in those seats operate, right? Because in my research, I've seen where an elected school board can be a stepping stone for folks to take other political positions. Thus, their time spent on the school board isn't really used to serve the best interests of the students, but put themselves in a position where they can continue to move on, right? And are you making decisions based upon re-election on the school board versus decisions that are in the best interest of students, right? So those are some of the things that jump out to me initially when we begin to talk about elected school board versus an appointed school board. I will say, I think the nominating commission, I've served on the school board now. I believe this is going to be my 3rd term on the school board. And when I've gone up for reappointment, I see the diversity in the room. I think that the city does a pretty good job at getting the word out that there are seats available. And you see that diversity on stage. And I think it's a very challenging decision for the nominating committee to look on that stage and say, okay, of these folks, we want to submit these names to the mayor. I don't think it's a process in which you get to just skate into a school board appointment. It is from that nominating committee, from that first point of entry, it's a difficult process. It's a challenging process. And I think the process itself, I think the folks on the nominating committee do a really good job at bringing in folks from the community with different backgrounds to serve on the school board. Right now, we have folks with social work background. We have a medical doctor. Certainly during COVID, those expertise are needed, right, to help the school district move through the pandemic. I think having that diversity in terms of background is really important. I think the nominating committee does a really good job at providing the school board or the mayor with options that not only are representative of the community, but also with the background that's needed to help move the school district forward.
Superintendent?
So I
Just wanted to step in and just make a comment. I just want to make it clear that I am on the school board nominating committee. And what he just stated is correct. And I believe it's fair, it's honest. There's a process, due process that you go through. Then the committee itself, they decide who they want to send before the mayor. It could be 4 or 5 people. And then say there's 2 seats. The mayor gets to select 2 of those individuals. For everyone that we send, are quality individuals who are caring, they understand education. And so the folks that go before the mayor are quality individuals, and he can pick any one of those few individuals that we put before him. So it's a really good process right now. And I have to be really convinced that electing individuals to be on the school board would be the correct process. And I can tell you, we work really, really hard at what we do with the advertising. We have an open forum where everybody can sit in and they can comment, and we listen to everybody. It's just like us going out to the community, we listen to what they have to say. And so everybody thinks the mayor is just making a choice. He's making a call. No, it's not how it works. We have a committee, we all work together, open forum, we ask the questions, we listen to the individuals, and we look at it. And we look at it in terms of diversity. We look at it in terms of citywide. And we pick and select quality people. We don't care if you're black. We don't care if you're white. We don't care if you're gay. We don't care if you're young. We're picking quality people who are going to take care of our children, give them the best education possible, because we all understand that education is the key to success. So we're not fooling around with this. We're taking it serious because we have to turn the system around, and we're going to turn the system around. And these two gentlemen work hard every day, just like everybody in that Providence school system, men and women. They do a great job, and we need to continue this process so that everybody gets a quality education. It's not going to be done overnight. It's going to take time. But when you're going through looking at elected, when you're looking at the way it's run now, it's serious business when you make changes. And so we want to try to stay consistent. I'm willing to listen to everyone and what you feel and what you think is works. And if I'm convinced that something's better, I'll go that way. If I'm not convinced, I'm not going to go that way. And it's all about giving these kids the best education possible. So I just wanted to state that for the record. And I think the job's going to get done. It's not going to be done overnight. Again, it's going to take some years, but it's going to happen because we have quality people in place. And the city council, at the end of the day, the mayor makes his choice, the best choice that he possibly can make in terms of these people who are going to sit on the board. Then guess what? It comes to the city council, comes to you. Got to do your homework. Got to do your homework. So if you don't like it, you don't confirm it. If you like them, you confirm them. Because we're all responsible. All of us working together. Forget the politics. We're all responsible to make sure that our kids get a quality education and this world is a better place for everyone. Care who you are, what you look like, whatever. We have to change the school system. I've been saying it over and over and over again, and I have to put quality people in, leave the politics out of it.
I'll just add, Council President, I think when you have an elected school board, if someone's behavior is detrimental to the school department, detrimental to the city, how would that person be removed from office? Would a recall need to happen for that person to be removed versus an appointed school board if someone's behavior was detrimental to the school department or to the city? The mayor could step in and remove that person.
Actually, that's not.
Actually,
Unfortunately, the council.
the
has to-
council, but it wouldn't require.
We just went through that with the former city clerk over here who his behavior, his alleged behavior was of inappropriate behavior in the office space. We had to go to a monumental task to finally address it, and it was a full-blown public process. And it's, in fact, the chairman of I forgot what commission recently too, administration requested that person. So it's a major. So it's almost kind of like it's
Mr. Chairman, in here, there's a section that
Yeah.
addresses that, and we're looking to make some adjustments to that section so that it is not so monumental.
Yeah, it
And
is.
so your point is well taken, and it's a topic that's been discussed. You know, this is a concept of this elected. We assume it would work the same way as a council person, like you're saying. and they would have to recall.
So let me tell you something, let me just tell you some of the things that people have brought to me about. So the young piece, I think that's not necessarily, I think it's a little bit, I don't think that's really a problem because I've served with council members, Damian Sanchez, 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old council members left and right, as well as older council members. So the elected public has elected all sorts of council members, all walks of life, all nationalities, all races, sexes, everything, all age groups in the council. I've served with them all. So the idea that they want to be a young person, I don't believe that because the council has, I've served with numerous people, 18, 19, 20, and really young people. So I don't necessarily that, I don't think that's really a prohibitor. And the other thing, I guess, is the question, one of the things that I think about is the vetting process. And although the vetting process, this isn't not an indictment of the present process. This is the idea people are bringing forward, they want to elect a school board.
Yeah.
The vetting process, where you do a vetting process of a nominating committee, and the mayor gets it on the desk, and they get to choose who they want, how they group, versus the vetting process of going to an election process is very similar and just as arduous and just as the hoops and the hurdles and public discourse and you even in greater, you have greater, I'm gonna put it, accountability when you're elected versus appointed, because when you're elected, it's a different thing. Your fiduciary duty goes up tenfold. It's a totally different, and a greater role and more responsibility to the public. You have to be more accessible. The whole thing changes, dynamic changes, because you're getting thousands of people to go cast a ballot, and those thousands of people know your name and will call you and contact you, versus in this particular case, you may get a mayor or somebody here or there, maybe. But so I definitely think the vetting process through the election process is more arduous and there is greater accountability. But one of the things that I am concerned about, and you did mention something earlier, is that if there was potentially an elected school board, what is interesting about it is that I think potentially, let's say, when Mayor Tavares was in office, and if there was an elected school board, he would not have been able to go down to the State House or up the State House and take away the school board's authority and power like he did. And so at that point was a unilateral authority. The mayor went there, passed legislation and neutered the school board completely.
Why wouldn't he if it's
Well, I think if you had 15 elected officials,
harder?
it'd be
They can change.
they still
charter
could,
tomorrow.
they still could, but I think it definitely would have been a harder task.
My
When you
God.
have 15 elected officials with 15 people, wards, like
It would be
that whole
definitely
dynamic.
harder
the
because you're
dynamic would be-
overturning a public
Right.
election to people's will theoretically.
Right.
However, on that point, there's legislation circulating in the state senate right now to go to an elected school board. And maybe folks should get a hold of that.
Yeah, I know.
and weigh in on what.
So those things
feels
that
like
happen.
to the senators, and I'm sure there's a companion bill with the House.
So if it goes that way, so that goes that way, part of the conversation is, if it's just an elected school board members across the city, then the very thing you talk about, it's gonna go completely lopsided. That's why the nuance that's being floated on is that if you're gonna do it, 15 members, 15 wards, so then every ward has representation on the school board and the school department. That's the idea. Versus they're just talking basically school board at large. And that will just, you think about now, it'll just be a one-sided conversation after that. So my issue is that I was very concerned, and that was a point when the school board was actually, in this case, you just mentioned eloquently, the Christian doctor and yourself, and you two talked about how, the school board members are doing what's best for the school departments, et cetera. And they stood up against a contract that they felt was inappropriate for the school board to help turn it around. And they did it, and they took a hard stand saying this contract is not gonna work, it's not gonna turn the school system around. And what happened was, the mayor went to the State House, passed the state law, took them out of the equation, and so that entire school board who was concerned about a very contract that was detrimental to the school system, which, by the way, as we know, many years later, the school system didn't get better, unfortunately got worse. So there's something to be said, talk about politics, there's raw politics in which it completely neutered the school board. And potentially an elected school board, if it's 15 wards, gets more empowered So this is just a thought,
That's a
a
great
theory.
conversation. No,
And I think,
Yeah,
and the problem is yesterday it took away that authority. What are they gonna take away tomorrow? And the next day, which basically you will not, you're completely neutered. Because you're not elected, you're appointed. And what if you don't do what the mayor did? And that's what happened in that school board. The mayor wanted one thing, the school board wanted to do their fiduciary duty. He didn't like it, so he changed the law. By the way, now there's some people in question whether it was the detriment of the school department or the children or to the benefit of others. I don't know. It seems to me that it went to the detriment of the school department because we wouldn't be in the situation where we're just progressively worse after it left. So I'm just saying,
Yeah.
something to think about.
No,
Yeah.
it's a great
And
conversation.
that's why I'm having this conversation, because my concern is what happens tomorrow.
Exactly.
What happens, what's next? School board just completely, just a bunch of people up there, you say hello to them and you move on. I don't know. Another battle with another mayor says, fine, goes up to march at the State House and takes more power. So it's just something to think about. I'm just posing it out there because in my limited experience that I've seen over the years,
Yeah.
I've seen some good actors and bad actors throughout in all different appointments, whether you were appointed or whether you were elected. I saw bad actors and good actors. And it all comes down to at the end of the day, is we all can do as much vetting as possible, whether it's we're electing somebody or appointing somebody. But sometimes it's what the book says is not what's inside, and we've councils had numerous appointments that went awry. Mayor has, elected officials when they get elected and gone awry. So there's really no guarantee either way, but there is one guarantee. When you have enough people like yourself around a table who's committed to a particular cause, which will hopefully continue to protect and create a checks and balance system, which you can hopefully get that individual or hip check these individuals. So it addresses the transgressions, if you want, in just general, and it can be addressed. So I just put that out for conversation because, you're in a very different world right now. The state's taken over, the superintendent, he's in a totally different type of paradigm right now, which he's the first superintendent to be in this particular kind of world, and it's different for you. You are the first of your kind superintendent. I'm not talking about race. I'm not your first. He's the first of his kind superintendent to be under a totally different educational paradigm in the school department. And you definitely there's some freedoms, but you also acquired additional limitations that other superintendents did not have. I'll leave it at that. And I commend you for taking on the challenge. And I'm just saying that it's not easy. And so how you trailblaze this position is going to set the motion or the pace of where it goes in the future. It's just a fact. You know what I mean? So, that's why I commend you for taking on the role, because this isn't easy, but that's the character of the person willing to take on that challenge. Everybody wants to do that. And kudos to you, you're willing to do it. Seriously, a lot of people don't want to take this challenge on, so I commend you for it. So I'm just giving you another way to
Probably
think
the most
about this.
challenging time in school.
Oh,
department's
definitely.
ever had.
I'm just putting that for food for thought. So it's not an indictment about the individuals where we've gone. Question is, do we learn what's happened in the past and can we make it better? Just think about it.
But,
That's all.
Mr. Chairman, I just
And I
want
hate
to
to have a
say,
change on us again up in
no,
the State House, and now we have no choice.
right. Mr. Chairman, I just want to say that you've been a gentleman through this whole process, so it's a pleasure of mine to work with you. And you've given everyone a voice. So I'm glad that they come, they express their opinions. Want to hear from the
Oh, yes, I'm
superintendent
sorry, yeah, definitely.
also on what he has to state and say, because this is a great conversation. Because I think all of us are looking for the best for our kids in these
Yeah.
schools, make sure that they get a quality education. So this is an outstanding conversation. I just want to get from the superintendent.
Thank you. So I echo what my colleagues are saying and the appointment of the individuals, because I sat in actually one of my first elections when they were school boards. When I sat down, and I guess he was also in the audience, and the questions they were asking and how deep they got into trying to figure out who's the best candidate for these positions. And I was really surprised in the system that they have and how it's being done, how it's working, how they elected the individuals. And coming back and seeing that we have representation, and to me, it's really important to make sure that we have youth representation. It's important to make sure we have members of the community in these positions to make sure that we're being held accountable, because I think it's really important to know that we are accountable who we're working for and is in the community, and having those members of the community, as we have President Kinzel and the members of the school board, and the process. I keep going back to that process, and it was interesting to see how it was done and how it was elected and how the individuals are there. It doesn't mean that, when I looked at it, there was a couple of other candidates up there who were probably much older, probably had more experience, but it didn't seem like they were gonna represent the importance, which is our students, our education. It's a whole different point when you're sitting there and looking at what the individual wants out of this. Is this a stepping stone to something new? Or is this something that we truly doing from their heart because it's the right thing to do for our children? And that's where I stand. At the end of the day, my nucleus is student first, our kids. What are we doing? Any decisions that made should be made based on what's best for our students. So that's why I continue to support what we're doing right now, which is appointing. It's a process. It's not just John Doe's coming off the street. It's a big process. These are the 4 individuals in front of you. And then have the mayor elect, appoint those 2 or 3 individuals that they need for the position. So that's what I say. I mean, it's a new experience for me. I'm learning the experience when I was there. It's difficult work. It's difficult work. It's a tough job, but we're ready to do it. We're the individuals right now. They're going to be the trailblazers, as you stated, and we're going to do the work, and we'll turn it around, and we'll make sure that Providence becomes the destination for education for all our students, not just that.
So, and I just want to, also on a similar vein, but not necessarily creating an elected, what about the idea of expanding the number of school board members? Like making them from 9 to like 11 or something like that. Is that something that has been thought about, something you guys,
I haven't thought about
I
it.
mean, that's
It's
something, I
the
think
first
that's
time
something to look into, or just throw it out there, you know?
Yeah,
I don't know, I mean, Dr. Montague, you said you're on the vetting committee. Do you think, and I'm opposed to you folks, because you're intricate, you're intricate about since the beginning. What do you think about the idea? Do we entertain it in increasing the number of school board members?
I
And by the way, it is.
Right.
Is that something that would be worthwhile? Is that something that makes sense? It doesn't make sense, or it's a number right? I don't know. That's why we're here.
I think that's another good conversation to have. So as we get deeper into this, hopefully your staff is gonna go and look at what they do in other cities and other states and so forth. But a lot of them have that elected. I wanna see, like ours is run right now. I'd like to see some other cities and states that are like ours, and maybe you can add a couple more school board members. Maybe less, I don't know. So my whole thing is to lay it out for us to look at. See the structure and what's gonna work best for our kids. So I'm willing to listen to anything that's gonna help our children. So if you can lay it out, you can structure it. I think what we have is good right now. But if you can make it better, let's make it better. But there has to be a structure. And so I can't really comment on anything until I see it laid out with a structure. So you might have a couple of structures that we look at and then bring them back and say, what do you think of this? Does this work? Because guess what? I want Providence to be the best. I want our kids to have the best. So let's make it the best. And this is why I appreciate you for being a gentleman, taking us through this process, making us think about things, and coming up with a true quality process that's going to work and everybody agrees to it. We're all in this together. We're all in this together.
With that, man, I'm not sure. Can you get those 2 bills from the State House and maybe get them sent to the commission and across the superintendent and the president here?
And I guess I want to add that
Commissioner.
if we are looking to expand in the interest of having greater representation, perhaps to your point, finding some models that are working in similar size cities, school districts, but also creating perhaps criteria for specific, perhaps certain age groups, right? So that we have, again, a more wider representation if this is what we want to accomplish on a school board. So I do welcome the idea of thinking of more, a larger board for sure. In with the thought that we wanted to be more representative of our youth in our community.
I'll just add, Council President, I think having youth on the board has re-energized the city in terms of being engaged in public education. So last month at our school board meeting, we had a packed house. And we've continuously have had the public at school board meetings since we've been meeting in person. And so when we're out in the community, certainly there are community members who are pulling us aside and having conversations with us about, what the next steps are, following up with us, regarding the presentation that was taking place at the school department. So I think from a standpoint of, do the community know who the school board members are? Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They know who we are. I think they know who we are more so now under, state intervention than maybe they did before. And that's not a bad thing because the community is now, engaged and invested in public education. So how can we take that and harness that and continue doing that work going forward? The 9 of us are held accountable to the community. I had a parent call me this morning with regards to a couple of things. And, we have full-time jobs as well, but we're serving the public and, we have to strike that balance. Just like elected officials have to do as well. So I feel like the school board, the 9 members that are there now, and certainly the folks that that I've served with during my tenure, have certainly been forward-facing in the community. Folks know who we are, and seek us out in between school board meetings to help them get things done.
At the school level, like if parents at the school level, is there kind of like a school board informational board or something like each school, like this is the members and there's a contact number? Is there any like accept, like you walk in the building, you go, hey, there's a superintendent and there's a, I'm just, don't necessarily pictures, I mean,
Yeah.
if you want, but I mean, it's like that idea, like, oh, get a better understanding of who's the structure of the system. You know what I mean? It's exact. I walk in this building and honestly see that it's kind of like.
So we,
Something like that, I'm
with
just-
this, we don't have something to say, I don't say at the building level itself, but in our website, it has been reorged and making sure that it's an easy access for parents to go in. And there's a page for school board members. These are the school board members. This is a page. So there's links to everything that has to do with the school as well as the school board members.
Do we get something at the building level?
I'm sure we can because we have it
You know what
broken
I'm
up
saying?
now.
Like
where
actually,
each school board member is assigned a number of schools. And so that parent reached out to me because she knew that I was assigned as a school board member at a particular school.
yeah.
So to your point, I think, certainly putting something at the school themselves
Yeah, it's a
makes a lot of sense.
big one.
Yeah. But, folks go on the website and can see, okay, this school board member has these 4 schools and.
But sometimes not everybody has that. They may not think about the website. They just
Yeah,
go to the
absolutely.
building. There's something to think about.
Yeah.
I'm just going.
Because their staff, do they have their own staff? The school board.
We do.
So in that office area, that would probably be
Yeah, right.
logistically.
Yeah.
I think traditionally what folks have done, they've just come to school board meetings and used public comment as an opportunity to voice their concerns. And certainly at that point, then, we interject and help them as well. But to
Is
your
there
point,
anything at the building level, maybe they could somehow,
What building, a school building? or
Yeah, like I think the
I was
schools are-
thinking the administration building.
well, wrong, like just, then if they don't make the thing, like maybe they, I don't know, they put it,
No, it's a good,
a suggestion, I don't know, they
Good
put some
suggestion.
box or a number,
Go
I
back to my
don't know.
concept.
I'm just thinking more,
I guess they could be an
More
open shop outside the principal's office. You know,
more
Who
access,
the
more.
principal is, who the superintendent is, who the school board people are.
Yeah,
who the
I'm just thinking it's
website
always,
no, it's a good idea.
something to think about. I just don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I have another comment, a
Yes,
couple of
sure.
comments. One, through the process that we have now, Kenzel came out of that process. Nina Pandey came out of that process. And the comment I have for these 2 gentlemen, and I just want to make it clear, because wherever I go, in the schools, this is my statement to everybody. Please continue to carry yourselves with class and dignity. Everything that you do it first class.
I would say, under this
Well
system,
said.
it's a huge improvement compared to the system many years ago,
Definitely.
where it was purely the mayor's choice and the council.
It's true. You know that.
I was on the school board in 1983, which I was just a kid then,
Okay.
and
It's like someone young.
I was young. I was
You said it, Council President.
No, you said it.
I was one young person in the city of much older.
So proud.
I know, huh?
Yeah.
And we're on YouTube over there.
Right,
Oh,
I kind of lost my train of thought.
I know. Sorry about that. Well, it's like it's a friendly audience, so.
Yeah.
Right.
No, we're right, and it's definitely coming, it's coming. Like-
Oh, well, this is a much better improved system, and
Definitely.
I had the opportunity to see the last 3 appointments on a Zoom meeting with the mayor and another venue, and I was really impressed with the energy and their level of interest and understanding for being so young and not even being on the board yet.
Oh, no, I agree. For me, my journey has been, my biggest disappointment was when Mayor Tavares took away the school board's authority for contracts. I'll be honest with you, I thought it was, I didn't support
But we've
it.
been on like
No, I know, but I feel like that
roller
was,
coaster
Yeah,
of
no,
a
no.
financial
And that's
crisis
the-
and this other
I know.
crisis
It's
and
just-
a pandemic, and it's been one heck of a
I know,
roller
I
coaster in the last 10 years.
just didn't think it was right, that's all. I just didn't like it. I just didn't like when they did it, that's all.
Right,
I didn't
But
like it because it was a pretty good, like I said, it was a good system, but then they threw a new way of kind of, did a unilateral monkey wrench, they were right in there, and I thought that was, because the school board, they vetted the contracts, they did it openly, they had conversation, you really, the public and everybody got a lot of vetting done at that level, and I thought it was really good, but this is the part that's the
So what I
part,
was
I always have it in my head, like,
Gotcha.
that went that way.
Right.
You weren't
so
there at the time.
you're
So
thinking
you
of
probably-
an elected school
No, I don't know if that's the answer.
inoculate you against that.
No, I just don't,
I don't know.
I don't know if it does or not, I'm
And
just
it
saying that,
doesn't
I want-
legally, we know that.
right, I just wonder, like, maybe then we start thinking, is there a way to maybe prevent future types of intrusions? I don't know. I'm just thinking, that's just something that drives in my head, it's like, I just thought it was just a
That was
bad
probably
idea,
one
and I'm
side.
probably, listen, I'm giving the person, they were proud of it, they went to the state house, they were proud they did it, and so I'm giving the mayor credit the time they wanted. I just disagreed with it.
But this is a good conversation because I think I
That's,
totally
that's
agree.
kind of mine, that's what drives me.
I agree with the chairman's raising the issue of the politicization of the school board.
Mhm.
Because it is a different system and it becomes a political system. Not only that, and it could be somebody who is looking for an entry level position with ideas of being the mayor someday or whatever, being the governor. A lot of people, may think like that.
Correct.
And they might be doing it for the wrong reasons. And the people, there could be a real excellent school board member may not want to put themselves out to the electoral process, especially in this day and age all over this country. The contentiousness of it, the work of going door to door, the raising the money, and they may be shy, they may not want to talk to you, there's a lot of issues.
Mhm.
So, I'm like,
No, there's a balance.
I'm hearing
So,
that there's
so then do
different
you go
points
like
of
towards the
view
idea of
there.
expanding the board? I
Right,
don't know, like, do you expand the?
Well, you
board,
could
pay more
expand the
represent-
board. we
And you
could
pay more
expand the board.
representation, there's something to say about that, that's why I'm like, is the happy meeting when we expand it? And this way you have more representation, more opportunity, more
Right.
people involved.
I mean, you could
I
say
think
one, well, I don't know if we want to say one per ward, because you may not be able to find a qualified person in a ward
No.
that's interested, so.
But
that
you
may
get-
not be
But you
the
get my
best of
point.
ideas.
I think more voices is better than less.
And I did want to say, one thing I've been saying is that the budgetary process, if there is going to be an elected school board, I would like to see the budgetary process stay the way it is. I would be concerned about giving the school board
Right.
an open checkbook, because then the elected officials here on the other side of the coin, the mayor and the council, they have to balance the budget and raise the taxes and face the voters and the public on that. And so that's a give and take, whatever that process is now, it would be the same process. The back and forth between the school department, the mayor's office, and then the mayor, when he submits the budget, and the council. You know, so it's pretty well, as you got folks know, back and forth, so there's a lot in it, so it's just not a unilateral thing.
Not sure, I go. Well,
So those
it was
are
just
my
food for
thoughts.
thought. This is what people brought to me.
No, but this is a
And it wasn't an
very,
indictment on anybody at the table, don't think.
No, no,
And
no,
it's
no.
it's about the ideas that people bringing up their salary, well, like, you know, I'm bringing up their concerns and proposed
Absolutely.
ideas, and I'd rather bring them up than say that I didn't. So,
Yeah.
Definitely.
and you're the folks, and you three in particular, the folks to know more about it than most people, and
this is an issue that we have to deal with on this commission because it's front and center in the General Assembly.
yeah.
There are people. in
So the question, the
community
General
saying
Assembly
that's
starts
something we
pushing
should
something.
consider doing.
Do we have to do a counter to, you know what I mean, like, and if there's like this big movement, I don't know. It's always concerning. Meaning my point here is, as the General Assembly to that mayor at the time imposed a whole new paradigm for the school board. It could happen again, and we have no, also now it's just elected, and it's just, and we have it citywide, and like, we don't have a stake in the conversation. So I am concerned about that. I saw it happen before. I hate to see it happen
At
again.
the end of the day, we want to make sure that this is fair and just for all.
Yep. Okay.
For all.
So that's it. Any other comments, questions? I want to
Let the
thank,
great work,
yeah, keep up the good
and
work.
let your people know that they're doing a great job.
Always. You will never hear say, I did this.
We-
We've always,
Yeah.
we've always done it, continue to.
But thanks for coming
You got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to us. I appreciate your time.
Not a problem.
Stay focused, stay safe. Thank you very much. Thank commissioners. Are there any other comments or questions from anybody? Any other items?
No, there's not.
Then great.
in. Motion.
Motion
To
by
adjourn.
Commissioner Dodd, second by Commissioner Esquire. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you all, by the way.
Thank
for
you.
coming. Great conversation.
No, that was-